welcome to my video. This is going to be my first spoiler-free review and later thoughts, where I will go into spoilers on the 2023 romantic comedy Rye Lane. So this was directed by Rye Alan Miller, a British filmmaker of mixed heritage, including, white and black. And yeah, I chose this for celebrating Black History Month. It's one of these movies where it's not apologizing for the aspects that are very much of, black people's culture. It is absolutely swimming in their culture, and it is very much just saying, this is who, not every single black person, obviously, they're not a monolith, but for some black people, this is who they are. Deal with it, and it's so very humanizing, and just, like, you might not relate to the exact details, but you can recognize that, yeah, these are actual people, and that's, as I will get into, the movie is definitely not completely realistic, but it's not trying to ease us white people into it. And while I appreciate that there is a place for movies that are more like, some people do need to have it really spoon-fed, I definitely think that, yeah, movies like this, it's a very effective way of making it. You cannot, watching this, you can't pretend like they're not real people, like they're just stereotypes. And right, and to be clear, I am going to be going off what black people have expressed about the movie and other things. I'm not trying to talk over them. I'm not trying to white-splain something. Now, let's see, one of the wonderful things about this movie, and there's a lot, is that, real quick, the movie, let's see, it's got to be, like, rated R or something, yeah, so will this video be, yeah. The movie captures the giddy joy of going out on the town and just spending hours in the company of someone that you find really interesting, who feels the same way about you. There's really nothing quite like it. I think the last time I had that experience was over a decade ago, and some of my fondest memories are from there. There's aspects of that I remember better than stuff that happened just last year, And it celebrates just getting to goof off with someone, being like, they're the protagonists are adults, but they're not trying to constantly be super serious, although Dom a lot of the time is, or would be, if not for Yaz trying to get him to come out of his shell. And I think they do a phenomenal job avoiding Yaz ending up a manic pixie dream girl, because she so easily could have slipped into that absolutely obnoxious trope. But she's a real person, she does not exist just to... She has that effect, but she does not exist just to help Dom, self-actualize. Yeah, it is very much this thing of, they're very contrasting. He's very introverted, she's very, very extroverted, and The chemistry is just out of this world. The soundtrack is phenomenal. I did not think that a movie would be able to top Deadpool's use of Shoop, but here we are. The soundtrack is on right here on YouTube as a playlist. I'm going to be listening to it independently of watching the movie later. And even if I didn't, I'd be humming a bunch of the stuff from here. I'm not sure there was an awful lot of like original score. They use a lot of like needle drops, but they use them really, really well. I will just briefly go into. There are some criticisms. And the plot is fairly thin or predictable. The style is great. The story itself quite conventional. Two strangers bonding over a day in London. Others point out it's similar to Before Sunrise. And it's the visuals and the unique setting that are added, not much else. Some of the conflict resolutions are easy or rushed. And let's see, some people did think that the stylish direction was excessive. It's one of those things where there's a saying: if you have to ask if you can afford this thing, the answer is no. If you have to ask if this is going, if you're going to be okay with how quirky this is, the answer is probably no. I absolutely adored it. Strong use of color, and some very effective fisheye lens, and the editing. There's this thing where. To be clear, something some people said was it was distracting, excessive, and maybe overshadowed the emotional depth of the story. I respectfully disagree, but I can absolutely see why some people do, and will feel that way about it. This is a movie where there is a lot of talking in this movie. It is very much spending some time with these characters. And, if that's going to bother you, it's probably going to bother you. It's not something where an awful lot happens that has, like, major real-life consequences. It feels big in the moment. And, personally, I was right there with them. It felt big for me as well. But there is a decent amount of talking. These two, who just met, are talking about their lives, relationships, how they view certain things, this sort of thing. And every so often there will be a direct flashback. And since it's film as a visual medium, obviously we're going to see it, nothing new there. But it does this thing of also placing both Dom and Yaz, separately from the flashback, whether it's his flashback or her flashback. Not at 100% of the time, but some of the time, we'll actually see them there, and they'll react to what they're seeing as the flashback is being told. Like in reality, it's just how it's visualizing how they feel about it, and it's just. It's really, really nicely done. I'm not saying it's 100% original. Probably most, other than this, my favorite movie that does this sort of thing is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But it works really well here. In both of these movies, it captures the emotion of it in a way that is difficult to do without this extra layer there. And let's see, another criticism I got were underdeveloped side characters. The leads were praised. Some felt the supporting characters were too one-dimensional or just there for comic relief. and some of the ex-partner characters felt like caricatures rather than real people, which made the emotional stakes feel lower. I do have to agree with that. I definitely do think that it's there's a real urge to do that sort of thing when you're making a romantic comedy, you know, to really drive home, you know, it's good that they're not with this person, you know, and yeah, they just, it got a little bit too far, especially because the two protagonists are very real, you know, so it does, they feel, you know, slightly exaggerated. No one is 100% like that, but they're not as caricatured as the exes, and yeah, it's one of those things where you just kind of gotta go 100% in either direction. You cannot go half and half without it taking some out of the movie. Right. It also was criticized for having rushed or incomplete character arcs. And let's see. Yeah, the movie is, yeah, this is 82 minutes. That's counting end credits. It's 77 if you don't count those. I think it is, you know, yeah, it hurts the overall, like, yeah, relationship and personal growth moments. It does help it mean that it doesn't feel excessive, at least for me and for many others, not absolutely everyone. The quirkiness would definitely get to be too much if this was maybe 10 minutes longer. And yeah, apparently some people thought that the humor was forced and cringeworthy. I mean, there is definitely some cringe comedy going on. I don't know. I can appreciate for some it didn't work. And let's see, the yeah, others, you know, it has also been pointed out about the film, you know, it celebrates South London's black community. Some critics wished it dug deeper into its themes rather than just using the setting as a vibrant backdrop. And it is true that it, yeah, that is definitely an aspect of it. And yeah, one of the things that you know also really work well for this, as far as it being about, you know, yeah, for, by, and about black people, you know, where a lot of films like that focus on heavy themes, you know, yeah, it's joyful, stylish, and humorous. It's a rom-com, you know, yeah, they are human beings, and the fact that they are, you know, also black people, yeah, it's part of their identity. It's, you know, they're not like ashamed of being black, they're not hiding being black, but they're not constantly, they're actually, there is a character who is constantly talking about the struggle, and it's kind of played for laughs. You know, it is very much a movie that says there's more to black people than that, you know. That character is very much this kind of buzzkill. And let's see, the movie also really captures modern dating experiences. And let's see, yeah, this puts it really well. The film wasn't about class struggles, racial trauma, or stereotypes, just two young black people falling in love in a visually creative way. And let's see, the I think that is more or less right. This is actually her directorial debut. Holy crap! It's deeply impressive. I feel like, yeah, I think I'm gonna consider that a spoilers. I'm gonna get into that in the spoilers section. I think that does cover the entire spoiler-free review. Yeah, if this sounds at all like your kind of thing, absolutely recommended. Just, yeah, it's stuff. It's films like this that make me love cinema. Like, I just, And this is the kind of thing we need more of. This is an individual who was just like realized she had a really fascinating culture and was like, let's share it with the world, you know. And it is a movie, you know, not everyone who loves it has spent any time in South London, you know. It's the specificity in a strange kind of way makes it universal in a way. Like, you're not gonna have a complete one-to-one for your own culture. I certainly didn't, but you can recognize, you know, there's stuff where it's like, you know, oh, they really love that food, and makes you think about how, you know, certain foods that you really love that are culturally significant to you, you know. So yeah, I rate this 8 very awkward meet cutes out of 10. And also do note, it is very much a British film. The fact that it's R-rated means that it shows some things that American movies are much more reluctant to show. There's one scene where, yeah, you know, I think I'm gonna just briefly talk about it in the spoiler section. I think this is going to be one of those cases where actually the start of the spoiler section is going to be for people who want just a little bit more detail, but I'm not going to be spoiling the ending right away, because I do want to make sure that the people who want to go in knowing very little, you know, I feel like I've done a decent job at this by this point in the video at conveying what the movie is like. You know, there are going to be some people who want just a little bit more detail, and that's going to be the start of the spoiler section. I'm going to let you know before I get into more into spoilers that you really shouldn't know before watching the movie. So anyway, getting into the spoiler section, just real quick gonna note how far we are into the video. So there we go, and there. Yeah, so yeah, the thing that there is in the movie, there's still shots, but yeah, there's more naked ass, including man ass, in this movie in one scene than in a, you know, a bunch of R-rated American movies combined, especially because it's man ass. You know, that is something that just, yeah, British people, they're just, you know, not every single individual one, but a number of them are just less, you know, afraid of nudity, less Puritan than a lot of Americans. And it does specifically call attention to the awkwardness of ass. Let's see, some of the stuff that I definitely did want to, yeah, some of the time when it is conveying how it feels, it will do like references to famous, you know, stuff, and there are one or two things where I did see where the movie was going before it got there, but it didn't like ruin the movie or anything. I think that might be what I want to get into before the, yeah, okay, so from here on out I am spoiling more of the movie than I think you should experience before having watched the movie. So probably my biggest issue with it, the ex-girlfriend, Gia. I appreciate wanting to do the thing of like, oh, he had a really shitty experience with his ex, and now, you know, so it's even more difficult for Yaz to get him out of his shell. I really don't think we need more movies where the ex the female ex-partner cheated on the man, and is really fucking terrible to him afterwards. Just like, yeah, I really, I wish that they had just had something else happen that led to the breakup, because it did kind of already seem like, some of the other stuff that Dom explains, like, yeah, they really weren't great together. There was stuff where you feel, yeah, it and the, yeah, just like, I wish it had been something else, something that didn't harken back to these misogynistic tropes, because there's so many misogynists out there who are convinced that every woman is just waiting to cheat, especially if it's, a good guy. Yeah, I think that does. I will admit, I did think it was incredibly funny when, just the fact alone that he's going back to talk to, just, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, the mouths at the art gallery, that was, yeah. I'm not sure that this was necessarily made by the biggest fans of art, or perhaps they do love art and they're just like, able to acknowledge that some art is pretty silly. Yeah, I'm not going to go over every single incredible joke in the entire movie. I'm just going to say I loved basically all of them. I thought it was hilarious that he's literally crying over like these fucking like TikTok or Instagram videos, something along those lines, of them like painting, and he's like, talking to the art gallery person, artist, I think it was the artist, and he's like, you went there after, and this thing of like, I broke my back painting those walls, and so he sees it as like the Last Supper. Just, yeah, yeah, the low res dick was really funny. Both the reveal and then Yaz calling him that, and him being like, "That's me." And let's see, this thing of the yeah, the fact that, for a while, like, Dom is like just barely treading water. He's about to go under. He's really, really fucking up, trying to, like, at first he's like wanting to put on brave front. Oh, we can still be friends, kind of thing with Gia and Eric. And yeah, it's really, he says why, and his voice is practically cracking. And then Yaz comes in, and he's like, I thought we agreed, just. And she is like, let me fucking save you here, dude. This is, she knew that this was not going to go well for him. And so, oh yeah, we're not labeling it yet. We're just fucking, and just, and yeah, the reaction shots, that was not what Gia wanted to hear. She was hoping she could feel superior there, and suddenly she's looking like a fool because the guy she's with is a, idiot, an asshat, and sorry, shit. I'm trying to break the habit of using ableist language. The thing about, Eric, like, you gotta try this, you'll cream yourself, and then when Yaz comes in, Gia is so utterly, like, discombobulated that she's like, try this, you'll cream yourself. That was really fucking funny. Yeah, and Yaz tearing down Gia and pointing out that Eric is a complete loser, and the thing of what's the word, the yeah, the thing of, 18 bottles of piss in the locker. Please take at least one down. Yeah. So he got fired for taking the piss, and it's hard to blame his boss. Yeah, when he said he tried to pass it off as apple juice, I was really worried we were heading into Dumb and Dumber territory. Now, let's see. At first, I thought that Yaz's teardown of Gia, this thing of like you had something stable and you dumped them, and traded down this whole thing. I thought that was going to be that was how she felt about what she did when she broke up. I'm sorry, these names, I swear I mean no disrespect. It's Jules. It's the ADHD. Yeah. And I guess by the end of the movie, no, it's how she feels, what she feels Jules did to her. There at the end, we realized she was the dumpee, not the dumper. And, the fact that she doesn't immediately tell him, I know that was you crying in the bathroom, because she sees his shoes and then recognizes them in the gallery. He doesn't realize until the telling, that was also, do we really need more romantic comedies with, I get that movies have the lowest end, that's the, classic part of the, but the liar revealed cliche is just, I think we're okay with just letting that go. Let's see. For a fairly low budget, they did a decent job on the shenanigans over the course of it. That is something I've noticed in recent movies. I guess it's this thing of like how everything is either like huge budget, massive blockbuster, or these kind of low budget, but yeah, like other than this, you have stuff like the fuck me. It's the back pain making it difficult to concentrate. I cannot fucking believe I can't remember the name of that movie. Matriarch, for example, and Clock. Some of the other movies from recent years that I've done videos on that are not big blockbusters. Yeah, Plan B is a big one. That one has a lot happen, but a lot of it never gets quite as big as you might think, and as it would have if they had a bigger budget. But yeah, the going to the barbecue, and at first he's like, they'll love me, and then they see him and it's like, and I do also appreciate, nobody has a problem with the fact, nobody in the movie has an issue with the fact that Jules has two mothers, although I guess was she making fun of him when she said he has two mothers? I don't know, but certainly they're also just real people. You don't have any of the negative, the stereotypes. There's a lot of propaganda against sapphic individuals and couples, and the thing about going through the knicker drawers, like, no, I was looking for keys, and later Tabby points out, what is it with you two in underwear? That was also pretty fun, and I think, is it both or one of them acknowledges, what the fuck are we doing? It's just, Was that a moment of like self-awareness on the movie's part? Is like, wow, I wrote a lot of like bathroom stuff and bodily function, and like there are three separate pissing scenes in this movie. Let's see, and I do also appreciate that's how he knew, oh, it's Eric cheating on, helping my partner cheat on me, because he's seen his dick, because they pissed together. And let's see, that's also something, there's a lot of American movies where they'd be like, ah, no, our audience is way too homophobic, you know, for a scene like that. Let's see, I think that might just about get us to, yeah. And the music during the barbecue, like, you know, oh no, I do love this kind of music. He's just, like, trying to fit in, you know, because he's a people pleaser, you know. And they like, oh, you know, I'll play some of your music, and then, you know, it's all this like sappy love song, you know, just like, I'm not like dissing that genre of music. It can be very cathartic in that particular situation. Not really the kind of music for a barbecue. And then one of the guys starts singing. It's just, yeah, and everyone's like, what the fuck? Did I step into the Twilight Zone? What's going on? And let's see. I think that does get us nicely to Mona's. And that was also, yeah, like, I am not 100% certain, so I'm just not going to label it, but, yeah, Mona, one or more letters of the LGBTQ plus, yeah. And I think each time the characters referred to, they say, you know, other characters say they, so that's what I'll do as well. Yeah, you know, Mona's like, this fucking, I can't believe how many goddamn white guys come in here and start rapping black hip-hop. And, like, I swear, if I had watched this in a theater, that would have been, like, where I was going, like, yeah, I'm sure, yeah, that sucks. That's, boy, I'm glad I've never met someone like that. Just, yeah, that was... I would not whoop on a night bus. I am not every single white stereotype in this movie. That just to be clear here. And I would never call A Tribe Called Quest that shit. Although apparently by the end of the movie that might not actually be something he really did say. But yeah, you know, they actually do end up performing karaoke like they talked about earlier. That was also great. Like, you know, at first it seems like she's thinking, oh dude, you're laying this on way too thick, there's no way Gia is buying it. And Gia is also like, yeah, what else happened on your trip to Imagination Land? And, you know, then he's like, they asked us to do an encore? You know, and at first she's also like a little reluctant to do the imitate the chant, and they also kind of, they can't quite decide which name comes first, and the, you know, but then he's like, I don't know, encore 5, was it 5 or 6? And then she's like 20. It was 20, you know. So she is, by the end of it, she is on board with that. That was great. But yeah, they do, and then turns out she's the one too chicken shit to actually perform. And then he goes up there, and at first he is just like bombing hard. I thought it was going to end up with him being booed off stage or something, but yeah, turns out he does pretty well. He botches a couple of words, but yeah, and then she joins in, and just, yeah, and then people really are like, yeah, you know, amazing, just, yeah. They almost fuck in the toilet. And you can tell the bouncer's like, not again, please. You know, not necessarily about Yaz, but like, we have had too many people fucking in the toilet. You gotta stop. You know, just, yeah. Let's see. And that's one of those great things, because like, it's already funny that they're about to fuck in there, but then them getting like thrown out after. And that was also, you know, when Mona's like, you gotta get her out of there, she is not well, and Yaz is like, Mona, I swear to God. Just, that was, yeah. Mona might be extra. Great sense of humor, though. And that was also, like, when I heard that line, you know, you just be aware, Mona's a little extra. I was like, in this movie, surely thou jest. And let's see, yeah, I like that the cowboy looking dude was like, that's so boring. It was just, yeah. Let's see. And the Love Actually reference with Colin Firth, and it's called Love Actually. Yeah, in some ways this does resemble Love Actually, you know. Yeah, if Love Actually wasn't so overpoweringly white and it focused on just one story, yeah, there's a lot of similarity going on. I quite appreciate the little hat tip to, you know, a classic. I'm not going to pretend like it. Yeah, it's got problems. There's problematic aspects for sure, but yeah. I have encountered a non-zero number of people who watch it religiously every single fucking Christmas. So, yeah. Honestly, if I had it on DVD, I probably would too. Now, yes, that gets us very nicely to Jules' apartment, and it was just, yeah, the moment that it's, you know, it's very nicely done, because Dom plants the seed, you know, he's like, are you sure they're out of the country? And she shows the picture, and yeah, because it's like, well, I mean, for all you know, they're at the airport right now. Like, when was that picture posted? You know, like, was it just this minute, or was it a few hours ago? Because it's not necessarily, you know, if you have the money, you can fly fairly quickly between, you know, it was perhaps slightly exaggerated, but it was still, like, you know, it's not like they're on Mars or something. Let's see, and yeah, you know, they just have enough time to fuck up a couple of things at Jules' place, enough to draw attention, and you know, I'm not sure I want to know what a moon cup is. I have an idea or two. I don't need confirmation. But yeah, putting it in rice. Pretty sure it's not supposed to go there. That's yeah. And if I hadn't met Mona, hearing Tabby say, I don't like Mona's sense of humor, you know, I would be like, there's no way Mona would have, but, you know, watching, yeah, it's like, you know, it's exaggerated, like, I don't think Mona actually would. Mona did, after all, say, please, Yaz, don't shit in a sink. You know, and like, after, you know, at first Mona just says, you know, how can I be sure you won't? And like a sentence or two later, it's apparently a given. You know, it's like, you're out here having sink shitting fun, you know, just, yeah. And let's see, what was the other thing? Yeah, the fact that, you know, there's a few seconds where we're like, how are they going to get away from Jules and Tabby without them realizing? But yeah, they knock over one of the fucking bottles. Jesus Christ. Because Yaz was thirsty. What the fuck you want? You know, and Jules trying to act tough, deepening his voice. And then Tabby is like, no, you have to be scary. Yeah, that's not exactly what a guy wants to hear when he is already trying to, you know, so that's, yeah. As a progressive, I'm willing to laugh at myself. You know, I know sometimes I sound like Tabby did in the, you know, like, there's a lot of toxicity here, and like that, I don't really like the vibe here, just like that was, yeah. Because like overall it is a progressive movie, it's not like super conservative, so yeah, you know, for example, the you know, the sapphic couple, Mona, you know, yeah, you know, because like there's some of the best characters, you know, Mona and let's see if I could, Janet and Tanis, I think were their names. You know, just, yeah, some of the most fun, you know, people to be around. Although they may take a little warming up to Dom, but yeah. And that was also great when he's like, trying to find the key, and then he overhears that, oh, he was crying, I had to go, he's, what? And then obviously they're gonna go look at the yeah. And also just the fact that it took them forever to find the fucking key, and then they end up not actually finding it. Because, yeah, they look at all the obvious places. It's always in the last place you look. Yeah, I really loved both of the major flashbacks. The Dom saying, oh, I was a badass. I kicked down the door and, beat his ass. And then he's like, no, I didn't do that, and I already paid for the movie ticket. So I said, he sat there watching the fucking movie after just, yeah. And, and she actually, she puts her hand on his shoulders, like, poor guy. And then, when she's telling her story, he's up on the balcony, like some fucking Shakespeare, and there's, like, an auditorium full of clones of him, and they all react like, oh, I don't want to see this, and just, yeah. And yeah, Hummus on the Dick, that was a good, it's too bad that was something she just made up, because that was genuinely great, yeah. Yeah, the boat waving thing was also quite good, and that's also, yeah, he doesn't even realize that that's her before he's waving before he knows that he's waving at her. He's just waving at people on a boat waving, or a person. I forget if anybody else there was. And let's see, I think that does pretty much cover, yeah, some really great editing throughout the movie, but some stuff like near the end, the thing about, she starts to text him, and then we see him get a message, and he picks up the phone, and then we see, oh no, it's his mom, and like, you're gonna leave your room today, and we see her delete the what she was writing, and the bit where they both sit down for a date, and it turns out that it's not with each other. And the thing with, the guy is named, what was, maybe it's on the, Lewis, yeah, the guy's named Lewis, which they talked about, oh, fuck. And, the awkwardness of the, oh, I like wine, but I had beer today, oh, yeah, I noticed, just, like, they're not really hitting it off the way that, yeah. Yeah, I like that she's the one who does the grand gesture, and it's not like, oh, she's so bad at it, or well, I guess she's a little bad at it, but that's, romantic gestures in romantic comedies are sometimes go awry, but, she's not, like, shamed into it or something, and yeah, pretty wise of her to pick a romantic gesture that's not gonna make it look like she shit the bed. And the couple of times they kiss, very, very sweet. I missed your cheek. And, yeah, they're at the end where they, both try to say, would you like to, and then he kisses her, she kisses back, and yeah, really, really sweet. I think that does cover absolutely everything. Yeah, just really, really loved this one. I feel like there's one more thing. Yeah, I really like the food thing with him, dipping the toast in the egg, and, being reminded, and they're at the end, Mom, I'm a grown man. Okay, fine, I'll take it, And I think that does, yeah, the bit with the costume, and Cad's one, oh, is this where the big shots hang out? And she's got the little noisemaker, and then afterwards she's in there just blowing in it, and just, listening to Yaz go on, and then Yaz is also talking to the actress, and the actress is like, if you really don't care about him, why do you talk about him so much? And Yaz is in complete denial about how much she's talking about him. And then the director comes up off screen, or out of focus, I think, something like that, and breaks the fourth wall completely and utterly. And like, so obviously this was a big physical thing, but I feel like it was also an internal battle, because there's this guy and she's really into him, and you know, maybe he deserves a grand gesture. Like, just that was legitimately a fun way to, because we all know where it's going. You know, this is the part where one of the two leads is going to be inspired to do a big romantic gesture by something or other, and to literally have a movie director say at this point in the movie, let's have this happen. You know, that was a great, yeah. And that was also a wonderful low budget, like schlocky sci-fi costume. Like, my god, that, I didn't know Yaz time traveled back to the 50s to do costumes for this movie. That's praise, not criticism.